Yeah. Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. I'm a headliner.
What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there today. Hopefully you're enjoying your long weekend. Now, whether you're kicked back in the pool, just relaxing, maybe you're sitting on the patio, legs kicked up, laptop in hand, doing some drafts here this weekend, it doesn't matter. I don't care if you've drafted already or you have not drafted already. Today's video is still gonna be a banger. Because I don't care. You want these wide receivers. There are 6 wide receivers in this video that I don't care if you've drafted or you haven't. You need to try to find a way to grab them here throughout the season, whether it be through a trade, in your draft, however that may be. And we're not wasting a whole lot of time. You got drafts to do probably here pretty soon. So here are my top 6 wide receivers, and I just have to try to find a way to grab. Now, no, these are not my top 6 rankings. These are just guys that I really want to have on my fantasy team here in 2021 fantasy football. And the first one up, no surprise, I've talked about him a few times here throughout the offseason, and it shouldn't be, like, this guy, Jake? No, it's Keenan Allen of the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, he's definitely somebody who is the model of consistency when it comes to all things fantasy football. He's averaged over the last 4 years 135 targets, 97 receptions, 992 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He's top 10 in fantasy points per game. No more Anthony Lynn run-heavy offense. I want a piece of this offense, right? And at the price you can get him at during your draft day, probably in the 3rd round, maybe even the 4th round in some formats, the guy is a great buy. Also, you can go to the owner if you've already drafted. Be like, listen, it's a new offense. We really don't know what to expect. Mike Williams, he's healthy. I think he's going to, lose some of that work Keenan Allen is to Mike Williams. Austin Ekeler back healthy. Let's not take the risk. I'll go ahead and take Keenan Allen. You want Keenan Allen because he's arguably one of the best route runners in all of football. He knows how to get open. He lives in the underneath routes, but he can make big plays happen, and that's what this is all about. Love me some Keenan Allen paired with Justin Herbert because I'm feeling fancy on a holiday weekend here this year. Next guy up. And I don't know how many weeks in a row I have to sit here and talk about Terry McLaurin, but you know what? I'm going to do it again just so everybody can make sure they hear it as close to the season as possible. This is a guy who just last year had 134 targets, put up 87 receptions for 1,118 yards and 4 touchdowns, and his quarterbacks were Alex Smith, Dwayne Haskins, and Kyle Allen. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is an upgrade to this offense. He's really going to help utilize the deep ball, get the ball down the field. Who excels in balls down the field? Terry McLaurin of the Washington football team. He is the alpha wide receiver 1 in this offense. There is nobody opposite of him that's really going to command a 50-50 target share. We know about Curtis Samuel. We like the young rookie Dyami Brown, Logan Thomas, Antonio Gibson in the backfield. But there is no true wide receiver 2 that's going to command a lot of targets. It's going the way of Terry McLaurin. And we know when he gets targets, he can make things happen. How do we know that? Well, look at just last year's yard after the catch numbers. This guy had 468 yards after the catch. That was 6th most in the NFL against all wide receivers out there. This guy can make big plays happen on a consistent basis. We know about that gunslinger mentality of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Plus, more than anything, the best second half schedule of all teams in the NFL. They will carry you through the second half, get you to the playoffs, and help you in the fantasy playoffs. That's why I love me some Terry McLaurin here this year. Next up, and this could be my fantasy love child, at least one of them, right? I made a must-have video about close to a month now on Allen Robinson, and this is definitely a guy who people really aren't excited to own in the offseason, but when the regular season comes, they're all on board, right? So I suggest trying to make a move for Allen Robinson now because this guy is an alpha wide receiver in the NFL. I don't care who his quarterback is. He's put up huge numbers with Blake Bortles, Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles. I get it, Philly fans. You like Nick Foles, but you only liked him for like a couple games, and now nobody really likes Nick Foles. The guy continues to put up solid numbers, and he gets volume, and that's what we want. He's had at least 150 targets in every season he's played, in which he's played more than 13 games. He's going into a season where he could have his best quarterback play ever. And yes, I'm talking about Andy Dalton. I do believe he's better than Mitch Trubisky and Blake Bortles. However, at some point throughout this season, they're going to make the switch to Justin Fields, and then I believe that becomes his best quarterback he's ever played with here in the NFL. The guy is on a straight up trajectory, right? That's what we're looking for, is guys get targets, they make things happen, contested catches, yards after the catch. This guy does everything. In fact, just last year, in 2020, he finished top 10 among all NFL wide receivers in routes run, targets, air yards, red zone targets, receptions, receiving yards. And that was with Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles. Imagine what he could do here this year. Love me some Allen Robinson, definitely somebody who I'm going after this year if I miss him in my draft. Number 4, CeeDee Lamb, Dallas Cowboys. And you know what? Let's be honest. He's the new alpha in Dallas, right? Yeah, sure. Amari Cooper is there. Amari Cooper is going to put up some solid numbers, but Amari Cooper may not be there much longer, which means the transition is happening to CeeDee Lamb, and we're seeing it right before our eyes, right? Just last year, 111 targets, 74 receptions, 935 yards, and 5 touchdowns, and a lot of that was without Dak Prescott, who got injured. So what could we see in a full year with Dak? Because Dak seems to be back, healthy, ready to go here for week 1. And we've seen it here in the offseason. He just looks like he's on another level, right? It seems like every single day in practice, we're getting CeeDee Lamb highlights where he's just absolutely dominating here in the offseason. He had 621 slot snaps. Just let that sink in for a second. 621 slot snaps just last year in 2020. Can you tell me how many nickel slots, how many linebackers can hang with CeeDee Lamb? I don't. Maybe 1. Maybe 2. I mean, if I'm being generous, this guy could absolutely dominate once again. He's in the perfect position in this offense to excel on a weekly basis. The high touchdown upside, the big playability, the breakaway speed, the good hands. He's got it all here this year, and they're on a team that's going to have to throw a lot because I'm not sold that the Dallas defense keeps a lot of close games. They're going to continue to have to throw just like last year. Fire up CeeDee Lamb anywhere you can possibly find him. Number 5 is Jerry Jeudy, Denver Broncos. A lot of people don't know what to do with the Denver Broncos. Now that Courtland Sutton is back, he's healthy, Noah Fant is in the mix, and Jerry Jeudy is kind of just like in limbo, right? He's somebody who you could probably go swing a trade for if you've already drafted. Listen, man, Courtland Sutton's back. He looks healthy. ACL looks good. Jerry Jeudy ain't going to be getting a whole lot with him there, especially with Noah Fant in the mix as well. Jerry Jeudy's going to be in the mix. Trust me, this is a guy who just last year had 113 targets, 52 receptions, 856 yards, and 3 touchdowns with the likes of Locke, Driscoll, Rippon. Remember at one point they started Kendall Hinton, who's like a wide receiver last year, and he still put up solid numbers. Now they're going to make that switch to Teddy B, and I love that because Teddy B produced 3 top 25 wide receivers just last year in Carolina between DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, and Robbie Anderson. He is one of those quarterbacks who may not be flashy, but he's consistent, delivers a great ball, and can really get these guys involved. Plus, we've already seen the chemistry throughout the preseason between Jerry Jeudy and Teddy Bridgewater. He's not the number 1 guy in this offense, which is okay, because all that defensive attention's going the way of maybe a Courtland Sutton, more focus on a Noah Fant. That's going to be a good thing for Jerry Jeudy to get more one-on-one coverage, which we have seen him absolutely dominate. I'll take a stab at Jerry Jeudy in the mid-rounds or somebody I can try to throw in during a trade here early in the season. Don't wait too long. He's somebody who could have a great couple weeks here to start off. Then you may not be able to get him. And the last guy I'm going to talk about is Bryan Edwards. Now, a lot of you out there may not know who Bryan Edwards is. A lot of times he goes undrafted, and you shouldn't let him go undrafted. If anything, he should be your last round pick or somebody that you throw into a trade deal here early in the season. Now, he plays for the Las Vegas Raiders, and maybe you don't know anything about him, but he's basically a lottery ticket right now in fantasy football. Didn't do much in 2020. He was a rookie last year, didn't get much of an opportunity in the COVID year. But this season, this offseason, he has absolutely dominated in camp and become the number 1 wide receiver here in this offense. We were a little bit worried when they brought in John Brown. John Brown, he's gone. So now all he's got is Henry Ruggs and Hunter Renfrow, and then Darren Balls to the Waller to compete with. But this guy is a big-bodied, athletic wide receiver that can make the contested catch, get the ball down the field. Bryan Edwards is somebody who, total boomer bust, right? But where you can get him or where you can throw him in a trade, you're not paying anything for him. It's like literally a scratcher ticket. You go to the store, you buy a scratcher, you pay $1, and you have a chance to win $1,000. That is Bryan Edwards. Don't pass over him. Throw him on the bottom of your bench and see where the start of the season goes. We know the Raiders are going to have to throw the ball a lot. He should be one of the top targets right after Darren Waller. Love me to try to find some Bryan Edwards here in 2021. All right, so those are 6 wide receivers that I just want this year. Now, obviously, I could have talked about, oh, yeah, I want DeAndre Hopkins. Oh, I want Devontae Adams. Cool. I'm trying to find some other guys that maybe you can include in some trade deals, some guys that you can have some interesting conversations about, some guys that you do not want to pass over when you're on the clock here this weekend in your fantasy football drafts. But I want to make sure we keep this interactive. Leave those comments down below. If you have questions about these guys, by all means, I would love to communicate back and forth with you. One of the biggest drafting weekends here of the year is this week. A lot of people wait till this holiday weekend to do their fantasy football draft so they don't have to worry about all the injuries, and that's totally cool. We're doing our best to stay up to date in the comments to really make sure you make the best decisions here in 2021 because we want everybody to bring home that title here this year. In-season content starts tomorrow. The very first must-add waiver wire video starts tomorrow. Hit the subscribe button. You do not want to miss. We're going to have almost 11 shows a week covering everything from waiver wire, start sits, rankings, weather updates, injury updates. Heck, I'm even going to give you some tailgate recipes here this year. Don't miss out. We got a ton of things just starting right around the corner. So hit that subscribe button. Do me a favor, hit the like button as well. Really helps us out here on YouTube to help push the content out to more viewers. So hopefully you have a great rest of your holiday weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you later.
I'm a headliner.